Branding is huge, especially with the introduction of LLMs.
Yeah.
Branding is going to be your biggest differentiator between the clients that are potential clients that you have coming to your website. A lot of the websites don't have any structure to them. There's no user journey, duplicative content on multiple pages. But I think by the end of 2026, if you don't have automation built into your property management company, you're not going to be around for much longer because you're not going to be able to process the amount of work that's required of you at the same speed that your direct competitors can.
Hey, hi everyone. Welcome to your show E-Coffee with Experts. This is your host Ranmay here. And today we have Lacy Hendricks, who is the Chief Operating Officer and co-founder at ClearLead Digital with us. Hey Lacy, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much. Lacy, first of all, before we jump into, SEO and pick up your brains, why don't you talk us through your journey a bit, how it all started? How did your digital marketing journey start? And also a bit about ClearLead Digital, your agency, what you guys do, what are your core offerings, and we take it off from there.
All right. So I started with a tech background. I have a degree in digital photography, and then I worked for Apple and Facebook. My husband and I decided to take over the brokerage his parents had built for residential property management, so single family homes through fourplexes. And during that time, our website the template, the WordPress template was going to be deprecated. And so we had to move websites. And I started interviewing and meeting with the service providers within the property management industry to see who is going to manage our website for us. I had started building websites and I don't know, probably kind of was natural for me. I didn't want to give that control over to somebody else. And it was a space for me to exist within the company and something I knew how to do. So I said, let's just keep it in house for now. If we get to a point where we're all too busy for me to manage it, then we can look at hiring somebody else. But at this moment in time, I don't think that that's necessary. So we always had our website in house and we've managed it. And unfortunately, my father in law passed away and he was our main lead source
I'm
for
so
new
sorry.
managements.
Yeah.
So, we were like, "Okay, what are we gonna do?" And I said, "Well, I know how to do websites. Let me learn some about SEO." So I enrolled in a course. I ended up in the community and taking classes for about 2.5 years before me and Alex decided, my partner decided to open ClearLead Digital. I had people approaching me, asking me about how to do SEO on their own websites and offering to pay me to do it. And running a property management company, I didn't really have time to do it on my own. And Alex was doing the same thing on his own journey to where we are now. So I just kind of fell into it naturally. And like things kept falling into place. Like people were asking me for help. People were trying to book me to speak at conferences about it and things like that. And so it just kind of like snowballed and I felt like, and Alex too, we both felt like if we didn't take the opportunity when it was
Mhm.
right, that we would be angry with ourselves later. So that was kinda how it all started. We didn't really have a business plan. We didn't really think it through. We were just like, "Let's do it," you know? We bootstrapped. We didn't have much to lose. We had a lot of really great relationships inside the industry already, and so it's really been about teaching our colleagues, what is wrong and what they need to ask of their current providers to make their websites work the way that they should.
And how about the first few days, Lacy, starting your own agency, kind of breaking through, but as a founder, you wear multiple hats, right? I mean, you're selling, you're delivering, you're hiring, you're recruiting, you're handling books, finances. How was the workload divided between you and your partner and getting those early clients, delivering it, keeping the lights on? Talk us through those initial days. How challenging were those?
So, because we both have other companies, all of the tools that we were using, we were kind of mooching off of our other companies, like using their Jotforms account and using services that they were paying for. And so that's kind of how we got through those first couple of months. It was really rough. We put some of our own cash into it. But at the same time, from the very beginning, we were using the resources that we had available to us to make it work. we've been able to bring it all in-house and are self-sustaining now, which is great. The workload aspect of it, Alex and I complement each other really well. I hate working doing QuickBooks type stuff. I'm like, "Keep me away from accounting. I don't need anything to do with that." He does it. He does it
Hmm.
well. His mom is also, an accountant, so she might be pitching in a little bit there. But yeah, it was kinda crazy and chaotic the first, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, and I wouldn't say it's not crazy and chaotic still. We're trying to nail down systems, and pipelines and processes so that we can make
Hmm.
it a more manageable workload for both of us.
Uh-huh.
We had 2 people when we first started the company that were going to be working with us, and unfortunately, they didn't work out. They just never showed up, and it wasn't like we were asking them to be there full time. We had 1 or 2 one-hour meetings a week, so we happily not happily, but we amicably split ways. We've since brought on another person to our team who's a technical SEO expert, and he's out of Dhaka, Bangladesh. And I
Hmm.
knew him through the course that I took. He was like the TA essentially. And the academy was closing down, and I saw that he was looking for work. So we were like, "Hey, this is the perfect time for us to bring him on."
Yeah.
So it just Alex and I aren't very controlling. We just know that we have a commitment to it and we hold ourselves to each other and it works. I know some people that wouldn't work for them, but we're able to prioritize and manage our workload well together because any free time that we have, we just go in and take the chip off the the block of whatever needs to be done.
Absolutely. And, for property management, you have been a strong advocate of effective SEO for property management, not being around keywords, but about understanding how owners and tenants search. So, I mean, give us that framework. How do you apply it to your own clients' projects?
So, what we found when we were looking at everybody's websites and what's wrong with the way most marketers approach property
Hmm.
management is that I don't need to market to tenants. I have a syndication through products like Zillow and my MLS that push our listings out to over 40 sites. And that's not just me, that's built into every property management software you can use. It's just the way it is. And a lot of marketers don't understand that. So, really, your website is there to exist to speak to the owner. And
Hmm.
that's where a lot of it goes wrong. Another thing that we found is a lot of the websites don't have any structure to them. There's no user journey, duplicative content on multiple pages, literally like homepage and then just like URL, instead of like having like an actual process to go like a client journey to go through. You need multiple pipelines on your website for
Hmm.
the early shopper, the mid-range shopper, and the one that's ready to close. And if you have no user experience on your website, then you're never gonna get anywhere. Um,
Absolutely.
so so that's really how that's like the first hurdle we have to overcome when we're talking with prospective clients. And I didn't say it, but the first clients that we brought on were people that we had very close relationships with and that trusted us a lot and put a lot of faith into us that we could deliver on what we said. So,
Mhm.
branding is huge, especially with the introduction of LLMs.
Yeah,
Branding is going to be your biggest differentiator between the clients that or potential clients that you have coming to your website.
absolutely. And real estate and property management in general, are saturated with copy paste service providers, right? So, what positioning angle actually creates demands that, instead of just competing on features and something which is kind of, syndicated or, kind of is there already?
So, I think branding and client journey have a lot to do with it. But also, you can adjust your pricing. We all do the same services. Looking at the industry as a whole, for the single family space specifically, there's um, about a 10-year delay in technology. So if you as an entrepreneur creative enough to introduce a new product into your market or into the space, you have that advantage that you're the one that came up with that idea and that can set yourself apart from the others. And then, you have your local you have to be very involved in the community. You can't just sit back and pay for ads and expect it to go somewhere. We do spend time with boots on the ground. And I know that's not anything to do with the website, but we've been established here for a long time, and building that trust online is just as important as building it in person. When you're talking about handing over the management of one of your largest assets to somebody,
Hmm.
you really have to have a lot of brand trust and authority in person and online.
Absolutely. And a lot of project management, property management companies try to grow by adding services, right? So, what is a more effective growth path that operators kind of overlook in your experience since you've worked with so many property management companies now?
So rather than expanding services, there are ways. So there's two different types of growth in property management. There's two different ways to grow in property management. You grow by door count. So you're looking at making a lower amount per door, but scaling your business to where instead of managing 250 doors, you're managing 1,000 doors. So that's one way to grow your revenue. But then the other way is to, manipulate your fees within the legal constraints of your local area. You can add services. So when people think about growth with your company, you have to look at it as, are you trying to grow your revenue per unit, or are you trying to grow more in like a wholesale way where you're trying to increase your door count? Because you can get to the same level of income two separate ways. I prefer to lean on services more because I'm big on user experience. I want our tenants and owners to be happy with what they're getting, and scaling up to 1,000 doors, your costs just go up greatly because you have to have more staff, you have to have more systems in place, you have to do more marketing, because you always have that churn, you're constantly losing clients and gaining clients, and so you have to accommodate for that too. So it just really depends on which way you want to go about it. And I think that that's when people try to when I say outsiders, I mean people that realize the way that property management companies operate. I think it's very mystical to other people, because to non real estate people, because they don't understand the operations of the business.
Absolutely. But one thing that they would know now is AI and ranking on LLMs and, all of this evolution that is happening. So with AI now rewriting search experiences, as per you, what content formats are becoming more valuable because LLMs rely on them, for training the signals now?
Right. And so obviously it's every day I wake up and it's a new story.
Yeah.
I've got 18 newsletters with different headlines, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so overwhelming. So we've tried some different content angles. Do we need to be optimizing for longer queries? Do we need to be optimizing for listicle style articles? Do we need a healthy mix of both? Probably. It's like I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't predict the future. So right now, we're delivering lots of different types of contents for our clients and seeing what has the best response, which is still a gamble, anyways, because, we could see trends with one style of publication, and then everything gets flipped on its head the next day with like a Google core update that goes a month long, which was awful.
Tell me about it. Yeah, absolutely. Now, talking about that, we are in December, right? So, like we were talking about it in the green room. So, what behavior changes are you seeing today that will, become the new baseline for project management companies in the next year by 2026?
People have been working on it already. The ones who aren't, and when I say it, automations. Automations are huge in property management right now. Like I said, we're about a decade behind most other industries, but we finally have multiple service providers that are tailored specifically for property management that can help you automate processes. You should have a policy in is legally, you're supposed to have a policy and procedures manual, like, printed in your office anyways. But this is helping people really illustrate what their policies and procedures are, so I think it's helping them in multiple ways, but I think by the end of 2026, if you don't have automation built into your property management company,
Mhm.
you're not gonna be around for much longer because you're not gonna be able to process the amount of work that's required of you at the same speed that your direct competitors can.
Absolutely. And you have been in the space for quite some time now, would have built a lot of websites, would have worked on quite a few SEO projects. But if you were to handpick one of your favorite client stories, which one would that be?
Oh gosh, my favorite client stories. I am a horrible storyteller, I will tell you that. Can I tell you a lesson that I've learned?
Okay.
So again, we're a very niche industry. We have like three providers for each solution, or like three providers for each solution that we need, right? And
Yeah.
so, what a big lesson that I've learned since we started our company was, even if you have great relationships with the people that you're trying to work with other agencies, you're not even trying to steal their business. You're trying to help their clients. They're not gonna play nice. And it's been a really it kinda hurts my heart a little bit because these are people that I've known for a really long time. Before we started the company officially, before we took on any clients, I sat down with them. I had several phone calls with them. I had meetings with them at different conferences to discuss, this is going to be happening. Let's work out a process so that we can work together.
Hmm.
And honestly, if they would work with us, it would make both of our lives easier because those companies are built for scale. What we do in ClearLead Digital is not, they don't have the capacity. It's not their goal. It was never the goal of their business to be able to provide boutique services. It doesn't fit in their model. And we could work together to make our mutual clients very happy, but instead, like, every opportunity they've had to put up a roadblock, they've put up a roadblock, and it's really disappointing because I wanted the best for all of us. We're a very tight knit community, and I had higher expectations.
All right, lovely. Perfect, yeah, Lacey. This has been a great conversation. But before we let you go, I mean, you have been around for quite some time now, and now you are scaling your own agency. So for someone, for, let's say our young listeners, who are trying to make a mark, kind of trying out, or let's say starting out their own entrepreneurial journey, what would that piece of advice you'd want to give to them?
Have a good plan in place. I've started two companies now on my own. One started, well, actually, I guess both of them started out of a hobby.
Hmm.
Because of that, though, neither one of them had, like, a business plan or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, really take account of all of your expenditures and then, like, double it, because there's gonna be stuff come up that you're gonna be like, "Oh, I didn't know I needed that, but I need that." Also, have good contracts. Read the fine print,
Good one.
and
Yeah.
even a contract, but if you have a partner, you and your partner need to have a contract. There is nothing, we don't do anything on the shake of the hand. That will burn you so quick, and maybe it's the realtor in both Alex and I, but both of us were like, "Okay, we have to have a contract." Like, there was no argument about it. If I was gonna do business mother-in-law, we'd have a contract, That's just the way we operate in real estate, and so it was never a question for us, but I think people that don't work in contracts every day don't really see the need for it. And as a young entrepreneur, that one can really bite you.
Good points there, Lacey. Thank you so much for taking
Absolutely.
out time to do this with us. Really appreciate it. And for our audiences, if they want to reach out to you, how would they do that?
You can email me at Lacy@clearleaddigital.com. It's Lacy at clearleaddigital.com.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Lacey. This has been a great session. Cheers.
Cheers.